So good morning my dear students, we are back here again with one more new video, and Saturday we had seen the concept of factors affecting the solubility for gases in liquid and factors affecting the solubility for the solid in liquid. So both the concepts we have seen on that day, and we had also given the few examples. In today's period we are going to see the Henry's law, then Raoult's law, and then we will be seeing the colligative properties, which are very important concept in this particular chapter. If you take the board exam question papers, you will see that the colligative properties is very important, right? So we are going to learn those 4 colligative properties, right? So let's come here, let's start with the Henry's law. So my dear students, what is exactly Henry's law? That day I gave you the example for gases in liquids. The best example for the gases in liquids was the aerated drinks. We can take the example of a cold drink bottles, right? What happens exactly in the cold drink bottles? When you take a cold drink bottle, when you try to open it, you will see that the bubbles of the carbon dioxide will start coming, right? Why it happens? Because the CO2 gas is dissolved into a liquid, right? So this is what the Henry's law says. Henry's law says that, we can write it down. Henry's law states that by applying pressure we can dissolve gases into liquid, right? So this is what is the Henry's law. By applying the pressure we can dissolve the gases into a liquid, right? So pressure is playing an important role here in this case. Now here, or we can also write Henry's law is a gaseous law, right? It is one kind of a gaseous law which states that the amount of gas dissolved into the liquid is directly proportional to the external pressure, right? So my dear students, try to understand both the statements. The first statement says Henry law states that applying the pressure we can dissolve the gases into a liquid. So this pressure is nothing but the external pressure, right? Henry's law is the gaseous law which states that the amount of a gas dissolved in the liquid is directly proportional to the external pressure, right? So you can use any of the law or you can write any of the law, right? So let's understand this, how exactly the Henry's law take place. So let's say that if I have a one container, right? I am having a one container. In this particular container, see, it contains the piston. The container is containing a piston. On top of it, we have the gaseous molecules, and at the bottom we have the liquid molecules. So these are the gaseous molecules, these are the liquid molecules, right? So what will happen when I put the external pressure, PEX? PEX is nothing but the external pressure. When applied on this piston, we will see that this particular gaseous molecule will start getting converted into liquid, or we can say the liquefaction of the gas will take place, right? So this is nothing but is called as the Henry's law, right? Henry's law is nothing but the external pressure when applied on the gaseous molecule, it gets converted into a liquid, right? Okay, so this particular thing can be also explained with the help of equation. So what we can write down in the equation, pressure is directly proportional to the X gas, right? Now what is the pressure? This is the external pressure. This is the number of moles of a gas. So we can write down P is equals to KH into X gas. Are you understanding it? See, this KH is nothing but called as the Henry's constant. This is called as the Henry's constant, right? So the equation will become where X gas, therefore X gas is equals to number of moles of gas divided by number of moles of H2O plus number of moles of gas, right? So therefore we will put this X gas into this equation. It will become KH into number of moles of gas divided by number of moles of H2O plus number of moles of gas, right? So this is the particular final equation of the Henry's law which is used in the numericals, right? So many a times the numericals are also asked on the Henry's law, right? So this particular equation, by using this equation we can solve the particular numericals, right? So let's understand what all factors are involved in this. What all factors are there? So P is there. What is P? P is nothing but the external pressure. My dear students, you have to note down this. P is the external pressure. X gas is nothing but the number of moles of gas. What is KH? KH is nothing but the Henry's constant. And NH2O is nothing but the number of moles of H2O, right? So these are all the factors which are involved in the particular Henry's law. See, P is nothing but the external pressure, X gas number of moles of gas, KH is the Henry's constant, and NH2O is the number of moles of H2O, right? So my dear students, I hope that you have understood this concept of Henry's law. You can note it down the equation as well as the factors involved in this, right? Okay, now let's move further and let's come to the colligative properties. Right? Again, a very important concept as far as your board exam is concerned. My dear students, colligative property is a very important concept from this particular chapter, right? So understanding this colligative property is very important. What I think that you should not learn but understand the concept. If you understand, it will be easily remembered to you till your board exam, right? Okay, so let's come here. What is colligative property? Colligative property of a solution depends on the concentration of solute and not on the identity of the solute. See, try to understand, my dear students, what I am saying. Colligative property of a solution depends upon the concentration of the solute and not on the identity of the solute. In a simple words, I can write down, it depends on the amount of solute, not on the nature of solute. Right? So this is, I am explaining it in a very simple words. It depends upon the amount of solute. As I told you, concentration is nothing but the amount. So it depends upon the amount of solute and not on the nature of solute, right? Then colligative properties are also called as democrative properties. Right? What are the colligative properties? Colligative properties are also said to be the democrative properties. Are you understanding, my dear students? Sometimes in the board exam, the question can be asked for 1 mark. What is the other name of colligative property? The other name of a colligative property is democrative property. Right? So I hope that you have understood the concept of colligative property. So let's see one by one what all colligative properties are there. And I request all the students, they should note it down, all the colligative properties. So number 1, relative lowering of vapor pressure, then boiling point elevation, number 3, freezing point depression, and number 4, osmotic pressure. Right? So my dear students, these are our 4 colligative properties what we are going to learn in this chapter, right? Let me tell you, this particular colligative properties are very, very important. You take any of the board question paper since last 20-25 years, you will see at least the one question will be asked on out of 4, one particular colligative property can be asked in the exam, right? And either they may ask you the theory question on the colligative property, or they may ask you the numerical questions on the colligative property. That will be for 3 marks in your board exam, right? So my dear students, let's understand one by one all the colligative properties. Okay, so number 1, relative lowering of vapor pressure, right? Now in order to understand this, we will draw and explain it with the diagram. Now let's say that we have this container. This container is a closed container. It is a closed container, and in this container, let's say if I fill it with the water and I apply the external heat, that means this is a Bunsen's flame. I put a Bunsen's flame from the bottom, the container is closed, and I am applying the external heat. So what will happen after applying the external heat? The liquid which is present will get converted into vapors, right? And this particular vapors will start getting collected on the top surface, right? Are you understanding? The vapors are getting converted into, the liquid is getting converted into vapors, right? And this particular vapors, when I stop applying the heat, they will cool down and they will start getting down into a liquid back again. Or I can say the condensation process will start, where the vapors will start getting converted again back into a liquid. So here I can say that when liquid gets converted into vapor, it is said to be the rate of evaporation. Rate of evaporation. See, the process is going to and fro, right? Liquid getting converted into vapor, vapor again getting condensed back into a liquid. So it is at the equilibrium, right? But when the liquid is getting converted into a vapor, we say it is a rate of evaporation. And when vapor is getting converted back into liquid, we say it is the rate of condensation. Are you understanding, my dear students? See, when the liquid gets converted into a vapor, rate of evaporation. Vapor getting converted into liquid, rate of condensation. So what will happen at the equilibrium? What will happen at the equilibrium? So last year you all know that we had learned the chapter chemical kinetics. Chemical kinetics में हमने क्या देखा था? Rate of forward reaction is equal to rate of backward reaction, right? So similarly here, rate of evaporation will be equals to rate of condensation, right? The rate of evaporation will be equals to rate of condensation. Okay, now let's understand what is the vapor pressure exactly. Now what will happen? So as this particular liquid is getting converted into vapors and vapors are getting converted back into a liquid, this particular vapors will exert the pressure on this liquid molecules, and this applying of a pressure by the vapors on the liquid molecule is said to be the vapor pressure, right? So what is the vapor pressure? Vapor pressure is the pressure exerted by the vapors on liquid at equilibrium, right? See, we are only talking about the vapor pressure, not relative lowering of vapor pressure. Relative lowering we will see it afterwards, but first try to understand what is exactly vapor pressure. Vapor pressure is the pressure exerted by the vapors on liquid at equilibrium. right, my dear students? I hope that you have understood this. Okay, now this particular vapor pressure depends on the two factors, right? Vapor pressure depends on two factors. Factor number one, nature of solvent, and factor number two, temperature, right? See, these are the two factors on which the particular vapor pressure depends. So here we can say for the nature of the solvent, remember, whenever a solvent has a high forces of attraction, less vapors will be formed, and if less vapors will be formed, then we can say that the less pressure will be exerted, right? If the solvent has a less forces of attraction, more vapors will be formed, and the pressure exerted by the vapors will be more, right? So here I can write down high forces of attraction means less vapors formed, right? Less forces of attraction, more vapors will be formed, right? Are you understanding it? See, high forces of attraction, less vapors will be formed. Less forces of attraction, more vapors will be formed. If less vapors are formed, the vapor pressure will be less, right? And if the more vapors will be formed, vapor pressure will be more. Are you understanding, my dear student? For this I can give you the example of H2O and C2H5OH, right? They both are the solvent. You know they are acting as the solvent. So in this case, what happens in the case of H2O? We have seen the bond in the H2O, HOHOH, right? This kind of a bond is present. What is this kind of a bond between O and H? It is said to be the hydrogen bonding, right? And you know that the hydrogen bondings have a very strong forces of attraction, right? So in this case, the forces of attraction for the H2O will be very strong, and that is why the vapors formed will be less and the vapor pressure will be less. But in this case of a C2H5OH, what will happen? As it is a highly volatile compound, it is a highly volatile compound, and being volatile, it will easily get converted into liquid, into a vapors, and the quantity of a formation of a vapors will be more because the forces of attraction are less, and as more vapors are formed, the vapor pressure will be more. So my dear students, I hope that you have understood this concept, right? Very well. So it depends upon the nature of the solvent, and the second factor is it depends upon the temperature. Now how it depends upon the temperature? More the temperature, more will be the vapors formed, and more will be the vapors formed means what? Higher will be the vapor pressure, right? Try to understand. More the temperature, more will be the vapors formed. Less the temperature, less will be the vapors formed. Less will be the vapors formed and less will be the vapor pressure, right? Are you understanding it? जितना ज्यादा टेम्परेचर होगा उतना ज्यादा वेपर्स बनेगा, उतना ज्यादा वेपर प्रेशर होगा. जितना कम टेम्परेचर होगा उतना कम वेपर्स फॉर्म होगा और उतना कम वेपर प्रेशर होगा. I hope that you have understood both the factors. So vapor pressure depends upon the two factors. Factor number one, what is the factor number one? Nature of the solvent. Factor number two, temperature, right? Okay, now let's understand the relative lowering of vapor pressure. Now what is the relative lowering of vapor pressure? Now this particular relative lowering of a vapor pressure can be explained with the help of Raoult's law. Right? So what is the Raoult's law? Raoult's law states that, first write down the statement. Raoult's law states that the vapor pressure of an ideal solution is directly proportional to the mole fraction of solvent. Are you understanding, my dear students? See, the Raoult's law states that the vapor pressure of the ideal solution is directly proportional to the mole fraction of the solvent. Right? Okay, now let's understand this with the equation. I request all the students to simultaneously note it down. Okay, now here let's say that we have one solution in which there is A is the solvent and B is the solute, right? Where B is the non-volatile solute. See, try to understand what is the non-volatile solute. Non-volatile solutes are those solutes in which cannot be get converted from a liquid to a vapor. That means it does not forms the vapor, it remains into a liquid only, right? There is no conversion from a liquid to a vapor. Those kind of solutes are called as the non-volatile solutes, and volatile solutes are those which easily get converted into a vapors. For example, I can give you C2H5OH. Ethanol is a very good volatile solute, right? Okay, solvent I can say, not solute. Okay, now here in this case, A is the solvent, B is the solute, it is the non-volatile solute. So I can write the pressure exerted by the A will be PA and the pressure exerted B will be PB. But as we know, it is a non-volatile solute, so the pressure exerted by the B will be equals to 0. Why it will be 0? As it is a non-volatile solute will remain in the liquid. It will not get evaporated. But as we see that the PA will get evaporated, right? Are you understanding it? So here the equation is PA is equals to P naught A into XA. XA, right? Then PA will be equals to PS. Now what is PA equals to PS? Or we can say PS will be equals to PA. This is the right one. PS will be equals to PA. Why PS is equals to PA? That means pressure of the solution will depend upon the pressure of the solvent. Are you understanding it? Pressure of the solution is dependent upon the pressure of the solvent. Why solvent? As we know that the PB is equals to 0, that is why the solution का जो pressure है वो किसके ऊपर depend करेगा? Solvent के ऊपर depend करेगा, right? I hope that you have understood this, right? Then what will be the equation in this case? PS equal to PA. So here I can write PS is equals to P naught A